Welcome to the Napa Valley Unitarian Universalists. I'm Cindy Gunter-Baldo, and I am the celebrant for this morning's service. Our parish minister, Reverend Lisa Hike, is away today, and with us instead, we have Reverend Stefanie Etzbach-Dale. Reverend Stefanie has served UU congregations in the Pacific Western region for 18 years. She lives in Redwood City and is enjoying building a private practice of spiritual direction for individuals and groups focused on fostering spiritual courage and resilience. Now, this morning's service is going to be a little different. As you all know, we've been experimenting with different ways of bringing online worship to you. Today's service is going to be more condensed than our standard live worship. It's going to be like the Reader's Digest version of worship today. You are welcome here if you come skipping with joy, and you are, whoa, I don't know if that was you or not. Did you have I'm going to mute you for a second because I think you had a notification that popped up. Okay. Sorry, where am I at? You are welcome here if you come skipping with joy, and you are welcome if you are heavy with sorrow. You are welcome if you are deeply lonely, and you are welcome if you are surrounded by friends and family. You are welcome whomever you love, whatever your gender, whatever your skin color, whatever your education, whatever your beliefs about God or not God, and whatever the flags of your heritage. You are welcome if you are looking for community that will love you just as you are, and you are welcome if you seek a community that will help you grow. Whoever you are and whatever you need, you are welcome here. We extend an especially warm welcome to anyone who is visiting with us for the first or second time. If you find what happens here today speaks to you, please go to our website, nvuu.org, and give us your contact information. We would love to stay in touch. If what happens today does not speak to you, you should come back anyway. Every service is different, and what works for one person does not always work for another. We strive to provide spiritual nourishment for many kinds of people. Now is the time when we will center through music. In lieu of a chalice, I have a candle this morning. Our chalice lighting is by Judith L. Quarles, called A Community of Faith. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, and I'm going to add this personally, on the internet in all sorts of ways, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth.
Good morning to you all. I had been really looking forward to joining you in person, but given the current circumstances, it seemed unwise to do so, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that technology offers us to allow us to be together in this way, and I thank you for tuning in. On any given Sunday, time is set aside to honor the complexities of human experience, the joys and the sorrows, the things that we carry in our hearts and in our minds that may not be expressible, that may not be visible to others. We honor these things, these individual experiences, because they serve as a reminder of what we have in common beyond our external appearances or differences. So, while we do know that people carry lots of things in their hearts, and we may not know what those things are, it seems fair to say that in these weeks we all have been forced to accommodate swiftly shifting uncertainties and potentialities, and we all have had to make significant adjustments in our lives, all of which can make it hard to know from one moment to the next what to believe, what to think, what to hope for, what to do. I found that sometimes I even forget to breathe because I'm thinking so much about all of these things. So I'd like to invite you now to join me in just a few moments of focusing on breath, focusing on the wisdom within your own body. The lungs that expand and contract without any intention and hopefully without any great effort. The blood that courses through your veins, the heart that's pumping all the time. What a gift our bodies are. Wherever you may be right now, I invite you, if you will, to place your hand on your heart, on your chest, and to feel that warmth, to feel that rhythm inside your own body, to feel that energy, the breath of life flowing through you, in and out. And as you breathe in, I invite you to breathe in gratitude, to allow gratitude to fill your lungs. Gratitude for what, you might think? Gratitude for the vibrancy, the strength, and the wisdom of your own body. Breathing in gratitude. And breathing out loving thoughts. Loving thoughts to all those whose bodies may be holding fear or grief right now, whose bodies, whose minds, or whose spirits may be particularly vulnerable, whether by virtue of divisive ideologies or social or economic inequities or the biological realities of this time. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe out loving thoughts. In and out. In and out. And continue breathing at your own pace as I share with you these words of prayer by Reinhold Niebuhr. God of my understanding, known by many names and beyond all naming, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So may it be. At this time, we turn to a song in our hymnal, which I feel helps me connect with serenity and courage and wisdom, and perhaps it does for you as well. The words will be printed on the screen. Feel free to sing along, to fill your lungs, and to release the breath with song, Spirit of Life. I was a child, I thought for sure that I would have so much wisdom by the time I was in high school. And when it turned out that wasn't the case, I concluded I'd just have to be okay with postponing that ideal state until I was 21, and then 30, and then 40 and 50. And here I am pushing 60, and things being what they are, I am more confused than ever. Feels like I knew a lot in junior high school, at least I thought I did, and now it's all up for grabs. According to Socrates, that in and of itself is a sign of actually having achieved wisdom, when you know that you know nothing. But I find that confusing, because if we do know that we know nothing, then we know something, right? The something is that we know nothing. Wisdom was the scheduled topic for today, and it was chosen during a much simpler time, January. But it is something I've been thinking about a lot in recent years, something I've been looking for to no avail in our public discourse. These past weeks, amidst all the conflicting reports, the fear mongering, and the hoarding, I've been particularly hungry for wisdom, both individual and collective wisdom, to just know what is going on, what is the right thing to do, what is the best thing to do. My very analytical and pragmatic mother used to say that wisdom is what's left after all the facts are gone. And while that idea did bring me some comfort when I couldn't for the life of me remember where I parked my car or left my keys, the fact is, we live in a time where facts are openly under attack. And I don't see much wisdom at all rising in the dust of their demise. Quite the opposite, actually. Like many people her age, my mom is slowing down. And I've been watching more and more of the facts of her life slip beyond her reach, like dandelion fluff in the breeze. What remains, I'm startled to consider, seems to be a much wiser version of the woman I knew. A version less inclined to feel that she has to prove herself to anyone, less inclined to embarrassment or defensiveness or to getting worked up about things that she has no control over. These days, says the woman once so passionate about intellectual rigor, these days she savors simple things, like the light that filters through her living room window, and she's taken up art, creativity for the sake of color and joy, and she smiles much more often and listens much more intently and compassionately and lovingly to the trials and tribulations of those still very much rooted in the busyness and worry of life, myself included. At times, I cannot reconcile this woman with the one who for decades woke up every morning determined to single-handedly bring peace to the Middle East, who constantly bumped up against things against which she was powerless, refusing as much to recognize what she didn't have power over as what she did have power over. And she was often wrapped in unhappiness because of that very struggle. These days, even though one might say that there is more reason to be unhappy, because more and more things are revealing themselves as out of our control. That blanket of unhappiness has been mostly set aside. I'm amazed at her sense of serenity. And more frequently, I think I catch glimpses of her soul, her wise soul, especially when I stop to visit and I notice that she's put up another sign on her fence that says, "This too shall pass." In the past, the signs were always related to one of the principles, but now her signs are much more expansive. They have a wider perspective. Having lived through war, through its horrors and deprivations, this is not abstract wisdom. It is hard won, and it is a precious time for us, and I know to treasure it from a 6-foot distance. The dictionary lists a lot of words to describe or to relate to wisdom, like insight and clarity and intuition, instinct, prudence, poise, gumption, acumen, and my favorite, sagacity. Sagacity. Generally, wisdom is understood as something to do most directly with knowledge, and specifically with the integration of facts, the capacity to make good use of facts, to make good and beneficial choices. But of course, that involves a value judgment. Deciding what is good and beneficial is generally only possible after the fact, with hindsight. The capacity for wisdom, we have traditionally been told, relies foremost on the ability to know as much as possible about what there is to know. To recognize, for example, what is changeable and what isn't, what's necessary, what's possible. To anticipate needs and actions and consequences, discerning values and intentions and options, and then distilling all of that into a choice whose beneficial outcome, after all that work, we simply cannot guarantee to know. Because despite the human capacity for sagacity, there are limits to our ability to know everything. So here is a painfully personal example of that. During the last presidential election, I took great care to follow the requirement to honor the separation of church and state by not sharing from any pulpit the extent of my concern about one particular businessman candidate. I thought at the time that I was being wise. I was following the rules. I was protecting my congregation's tax-exempt status. I was living up to my professional responsibilities. But hindsight, filled with awareness of the larger consequences that have since unfolded, tells me otherwise. I am humbled to admit that I was unwise in that matter. As I reflect on all of this, I recall a recent experience of being a student in a training program where we were told to participate with an attitude of what Buddhists call beginner mind, basically to be a blank slate. Well, as much as I was open and curious about the subject matter, and as much as I was willing to defer to the wisdom of the teacher, there was no way I could agree to participate as a blank slate. That's impossible. Because even for teenagers, even for children, it would be impossible. From the moment we are born, we are accumulating information. We're putting together impressions, piecing things together, developing perspectives and biases and thoughts, and we can't help but do that. Our accumulated experiences give shape to how we perceive the world and how we, over time, find our way to wisdom. That recent experience, my life experience, prompts me now to risk offending the Socrates fans among you, and there may just be a few, and to say that I think he was wrong. I think wisdom is not a matter of knowing that you know nothing. I think wisdom is a matter of knowing what we know, and knowing that some of that may turn out to be wrong, and that there's actually a lot that we don't know and that we may not be able to know, that we can't know. And as absurd as it may sound, wisdom is about making peace with that, finding serenity within uncertainty, not letting it tumble us into despair, not letting it wrap us in lethargy or unhappiness, and more than anything else, not letting it stop us from savoring the simple things that speak the language of our heart. Wisdom, I have come to learn so far, is a matter of not letting the facts that elude us keep us from listening deeply and lovingly to the concerns of others. It's about creating and sharing beauty and joy in as many ways as possible while we still have breath within us, while we're still alive. Doing that because all that we have experienced has taught us something about what is most true and valuable about life. That kind of wisdom, my friends, is something that is unlikely to ever really happen until our slate has been well written upon. Wisdom, it seems, is about far more than facts, as hard as those are to nail down. It requires that we live as fully as we can, no matter what's going on, with our eyes and our hearts and our minds open, integrating our experiences, sorting through whatever facts may be available, but doing so with curiosity and with humility and with a generous spirit, because there always is so much more to learn, so much to share and to enjoy as we each move through life's mysteries and move closer and closer to the big mystery that unites us all on the farthest end of life. The one that knows no nationality, no race, no gender, doesn't care who you love or what you own. I'm talking about the mystery of death, of mortality. As if that weren't hard enough, wisdom asks that we risk recognizing ourselves, our own yearnings, our own fumblings and failings and struggles as expressions of that unifying mystery. It asks that we bring compassion to ourselves and to one another, because none of this is easy. Even under the best of circumstances, life is not easy. Life is inherently risky. While we might start out with beginner's mind, we very quickly cultivate dualist mind, convincing ourselves that the world is made of so many autonomous individual parts to be categorized as this or that, and then conquered, us versus them. Giving up that goal of conquering can feel so very, very risky, because it means letting go of the expectation that we should be able to know or control everything, because it means that we are less powerless, less powerful than we think we should be. On the other hand, and This is one of the things I've been learning during this time of sheltering in place. It also means we're not really as alone as we may fear. And things aren't really as hopeless. It depends on what you're hoping for. As individual expressions of unifying mystery, we each have the capacity to come to know that nothing is ever really lost. Everything is connected. Everything comes around. People, ideas, facts, seasons, species, viruses, presidents, governments, civilizations come and go. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Every wisdom tradition I've ever come across affirms this to be true. And anyone whose slate has been written on long enough will agree, even after the salient facts have been carried off on a breeze, even if with a touch of sadness, because life really is such a precious and complex and fragile adventure. And it can take so long to figure that out. It can take so long for us to realize that. All too often it takes something unexpectedly, horrifically beyond our control for us to recognize what is most real and true and important. It can take so long to set aside our habits, our defenses, and reveal our souls to one another. Commit our lives to one another. So, what do we take from all of this? As far as I can tell, from everything I've gleaned from all the wisdom traditions that I'm free to explore as a Unitarian Universalist, from all the conversations with people of all ages, especially those well past the years of certainty, and from my own experience, wisdom is not a given. We can pray for it all we want, but we also have to work for it because it requires risks. Wisdom requires risks every step of the way as we choose to engage fully with life in its lived realities and in its mysteries, intentionally, responsibly, humbly reflecting upon not only our own resources and responsibilities and options, but those that speak to who we are together, doing the best we can to avoid, but also to admit and to learn from the mistakes, the fumblings of the past. Today, I have to think risking wisdom has to involve setting aside the us versus them thinking. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this virus, it is that there is no them. It's all us. To risk wisdom is to let go of who we once were or thought we were in favor of what is most real right now. The sun filtering today here where I am so beautifully through the window. That's real. What's real and has been for a long time is a lot of people suffering the violence of poverty and inequity and racism. What's real also is a growing awareness by virtue of this virus that we are in this together. What affects one affects all. What is also real is people slowly, and perhaps at this early stage, still very awkwardly, learning to reach out to one another in new ways, like this, for example. What's real is people discovering and rediscovering their own ability to create and share beauty, for the sake of joy, and for the sake of life, their own ability to make good use of their own or the hard won wisdom of those who have lived through tough times, those whose slate reveals resilience. When it comes down to it, there are things we can change as individuals and as communities, and there are others we can't change yet. Learning to recognize the difference takes and builds wisdom, yours and mine and ours. We are still here. We are still here. Revelation is not sealed. There's always more to learn. And this is as frustrating to me as it has become hope inducing, because staying open to learning and actively cultivating wisdom is worth the risk. It is exactly what we will need as we move forward into the mystery of this day, toward and beyond the mystery of the weeks ahead. Together, in whatever way we can, together, may we risk wisdom. So may it be.
Hi, my name is Atticus Fisher. I've been coming to the Napa Unitarian Universalist for my whole life, and I'm here to talk about the programs that are available for youth in this congregation. So first I'd like to talk about the youth group. It's the group that I'm currently a part of. Youth group meets after the service. It's really cool because it's a safe space where you can talk about like your feelings and opinions and things that you might not feel comfortable sharing otherwise. It's nice that we can connect with other kids that are my age and the adult advisors as well. And it's a relatively new group, so I'm really looking forward to like the future where we might be able to do some like cool trips or something. And I graduated from RE, which is a typical thing for up to like 7th or 8th grade, ever since like kindergarten-ish. And RE was really cool. We learned all about the religions, like all the big world religions, and so we could understand references in like stories. And the cool thing about it is that we could share our opinions on what we learned, and so if we agreed or didn't agree or liked or didn't like something, we could say it. We would have to back up our opinion, but we could share it, and you wouldn't feel comfortable doing that anywhere else. And I found that I was more familiar with the Bible than some of my friends who identify as Christian were, which I thought was pretty funny. And I think that RE is a lot more meaningful for kids and more fun for youth than the service would ever be for that age group. Mugs was the weekend retreats for middle schoolers. Mugs is really fun. It's like the most fun I ever had over a weekend. It's a safe and inclusive environment. Everyone is nice. There are no bullies, which is a major contrast to school. And the same is true with YRUUP, which is like for high schoolers. And then last, I'd like to talk about COA, which stands for Coming of Age. So COA has been really interesting and eye-opening experience, and it's kind of feel like you're like changing as a person because you're gaining more awareness on like the world around you and stretching your limits, which is kind of challenging but valuable. It's less fun than Mugs is, but we're getting like different things out of it, you know. So, and there are still nice kids there. They're just different environment than Mugs is. It's more adult led, and yeah. Thank you for supporting the youth of this congregation and ensuring that the religion can grow and live on.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This congregation depends entirely upon the generosity of its members and friends. We are deeply grateful for your gifts of time, talent, and treasure. You can go to nvuu.org and click the donate button if you would like to give online. While the offertory music is playing, it is also a great opportunity for you to share any announcements that you have that are pertinent right now in the chat. Thank you for your gifts of time, talent, and treasure. If you would like to join us for social hour after the service, there will be the information to join in the Zoom in the description down below beneath the video. You can find all the information there. All are welcome. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
For our closing words, I'd like to share with you this prayer by John O'Donohue from his book, To Bless the Space Between Us. May these words be an inspiration and a blessing to you. He wrote, "This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. So may it be. Go in peace, move in love, and be a light unto this world. Blessed be."